Yeah. So see, reverse engineering means arriving at the problem from solution. Okay, so it's like you have the solution, but you don't know the problem. Okay, so you backtrack. So, for example, let's say, what does copycats do? Generally, let's say you launch a product in the market. Okay, let's say you launch a new TV, and I'm a competitor. I want to launch a new TV, right? So what I'll do, I will buy your TV. I will start opening each part, right? I will see what component you use, okay? And then what I'll do, I will create something similar, right? I'll also go with those components and I'll make one TV like that, isn't it? So, that's called reverse engineering. So you have a product, okay, and you don't know how it is made, how it is designed. So you will start from the solution. So in software world, in terms of software world and in terms of business analysis, reverse engineering is about understanding the design, okay, understanding the requirement after the solution is created, right? So see, generally the forward engineering, okay, or the engineering, okay, what you call engineering or forward engineering is the normal process, okay. That means you first look at the get the requirements, do the design, then you code, correct? That's a normal process, or also called as forward engineering or just engineering, okay. Reverse engineering is going backward. So you had requirements, design, and code. Now you have code. From code you're creating design document. From design document you're creating requirements. Okay, that's called reverse engineering. So this is generally done in maintenance phase. Let's say you have a software which been in use for 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, and you have lost all the documents. You don't know where the documents are. Of course, when they would have created it, the BA would have created all the documents, but now you don't have the document. Or many times what happens is, okay, you create a document, but as you keep updating the software with new features, okay, you forget to update the original document. So even though you might have the document, but that information could be 7-8 years old, but you had development till last year. Okay, so mostly it is in terms of maintenance project, okay, or you want to improve that product, right? You already have a product which is in use for 10 years. You want to improve it. So to improve it, okay, you will not do it from scratch, right? So requirements, you would want to take it from the existing software so that you don't have to work from scratch, but you don't have the requirement document. So that's when you will perform reverse engineering, go back and get the requirements, and then start building the newer version. Okay, so generally when you have complex project and you want to understand it, you would do reverse engineering. You have lost all the requirements document, so you would do that. Okay, okay, or you want to build something on top of it, right? So you want to know what is there in the system, so you do reverse engineering. Right? So reverse engineering is creating requirements from a product which is already in use. Right? So after code is written, from the code you want to get the design and the requirement.
Okay.
Did I answer you?
Yeah.
Okay. You have reverse engineering in almost like every field, right? So let's say when you are shipping a product, right? So it's called forward shipping or forward logistic, where you buy stuff, but when you return, right? Amazon, when you buy, it's a normal forward logistic, a forward shipment. But when you return it, let's say you don't like it or it's damaged or whatever, you return it. That's called reverse logistic. Okay, reverse shipment. So it's going, normal process is going from manufacturer to the consumer, but now it's going from consumer to the manufacturer, reverse. Okay, That's why we call it reverse engineering, reverse logistics. This kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay, so where were we? Any idea?
Yeah, we are at software life cycle. We completed software life cycle activities chart, and then why? Just one second.
What is software?
Going on now.
What is software life cycle? Software life cycle chart?
The Rooms to Go Memorial Day sale online today.
At Midas, we make sure every
Hello.
So let me share my screen. I think this is where we were, right? If I am not wrong.
Yes.
That was the last. So what I was saying is that, so when you see a requirement, right, you shouldn't, assume that it's wrong or okay. When you when you see a requirement,
Correct from customer's view.
sorry.
Maybe it's correct from customer's view.
Correct. So you have to speak to them, bring it out. Okay.
Yeah.
Do not assume it's correct. Do not assume it's wrong. Okay. You bring it out. You confirm, say that yes, this is what they want. Okay. And they'll say, yeah, this is what we want. Then fine, right? And see, and also like we have not gone into details. We'll be getting into details. But as I said, right, you are not a waiter, okay? So, you cannot simply say, okay, whatever you say, I will do it, okay? You want to be someone who is suggesting, who is also suggesting that what's right and what's wrong, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So, as I said, now we will focus our time on the core activity. So what's the core activity? It is to find the requirements, right? So two questions are generally asked or answered with requirements. First is, how can we identify the purpose of a system? What is the purpose, right? When you know the purpose, right, that's when you can develop or you can add new features, okay? And what's the purpose? And second question is, what is inside and what is outside the system? Inside means what is that you are going to develop or you need to develop, and outside is something that is out of scope, okay, that you don't have to develop and deliver, okay. So you have requirements analysis, elicitation, you have analysis, and finally you talk about requirements process, okay. So here you see requirements elicitation is definition of the system in terms understood by the customer, right? So when you say requirements elicitation, what it is? Okay, this is the core, okay? Most of the interview questions will be based on this topic itself.
Okay.
Okay. So what does requirement illustration mean here? Let's take
Terms
a guess.
understood by the customer. Hello. Swapnil, can you hear me?
No, I'm asking, what do you understand from the requirement solicitation here?
Stakeholder needs. Like we gathering the stakeholder needs.
Okay.
That I understood from that line.
So what do you read here?
Definition of the system in terms understood by the customer. So, am I audible to you?
See, we are talking about
I'm not able to hear your voice, Saurav.
you're finding it difficult to hear my voice?
You're often breaking, Saurabh.
Yeah, your
Is
voice
it?
is breaking. Yeah.
So yeah, the moment you see your voice breaking, please, let me know then. Okay.
Yeah, I just sent it to you on chat that we could not hear you.
Okay. I mean, just speak out so that I'll know that. Okay. Sure.
Okay.
So, okay. So my question was, what do you understand from requirement solicitation here?
Basic understanding what the customer gets from the requirement.
Okay. So see, we're talking about definition of the system. Okay. So if you are building a software, right? What software are you building? I gave you the project, right? What software are you building? I have to evaluate to you as well. Okay. The interview is done. Second evaluation will be done on the project. If you don't show me, then I will have to say 0 out of 10 to the team. And then we'll have one more round of interview later.
Can you ask?
No, so see, we were talking about the project, right? That everybody has to do that requirements, high-level requirements.
Yeah.
Before we took that break. So have you started working on it? You want to show me how much you have made?
Yeah, Saurav.
Let me share your screen. So the idea is, if you take one project, okay, and whatever I'm discussing, right, you see, I will be taking multiple different examples, okay. but on the same process or same example or same project that you're building, it's same for same system, you do the activity. So now we are getting into requirement illustration, right? So I want you to perform requirement illustration for your business problem that you have chosen already. Okay, so same, if you have same business problem, then it becomes easy to see the difference, you know, how things are changing. I want you to make first attempt. I can help you to modify, edit later, but I want you to make first attempt. We can review it, but please make first attempt of writing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Like, are you saying about start working on requirements elicitation or like in a project perception?
Correct. So which project? The project that you have already chosen. We did the project, right? All of you did speak about it a little bit. I made some suggestions for all of you. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that you have already incorporated those changes. Soon I'll be seeing the projects again, with of course additional work that needs to be done there.
Okay.
Okay. So whatever I will be doing now, okay, you have to do it for your project. Okay, do it, show it to me, and then I'll probably, I'll help you to fine tune and things like that.
Okay.
Sounds good?
Saurabh, this is the one that you asked us to prepare the requirements for with any case study.
Which one?
No, I'm not sure about which assignment you are talking. Is it the case study that we prepared for the requirements?
Yes. So for the requirements I gave you, right?
Told us to take some case study of what any project that we did and prepare the requirements.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so continue building it. Right? Okay. So definition of the system in terms understood by the customer. Okay. So let's say we are building a CRM solution. What is CRM solution? Customer relationship manager or management, right? Software management. So in CRM, we try to find the or we don't try. I mean, of course, we try to create a system, okay, where you can track all the information related to your customers. That's the objective. So, let's say today you are managing a client, and tomorrow if I start managing the same client in your place, I should be able to know all the history, right? So name, when did the customer become our client? Who are the people that we're talking to? Is it good client, bad client? What kind of complaints they have against us? How much, revenue they are, how much price they are paying for the services? When is the due date? Correct? All those email communication which happened in last few days, right? All those things should be available so that as a CRM or as a account manager, you can actually go and understand everything, right? So that's called CRM solution, right? So definition terms of understood by the customer. Customer is who? The stakeholders, isn't it? or the users, right? So here we're not talking about developing a dashboard, developing a UI. We're talking about system which can tell us who are our clients and who are our prospects. That's one requirement from the user perspective. How you give it to me, see, as a user, whether you give it to me in row, column, black text, green text, I don't care, right? I need to know this, and the system has to give me. So I need to know who are our prospect, who are clients. I can, know like how much revenue are they paying, right? So most of the time they'll have this category, right? Gold customer, silver customer. So what category they fall, right? So these are the information that you need as a account manager. Okay, who all be using CRM, right? So CRM would be used by sales people, even the support people, right? So every people will have different kind of requirements. So from the user perspective, what they need, right? We're not talking about the design. We're not talking about the text box. We're not talking about buttons. We're not talking about a web page, right? We're talking about the capabilities. Okay. So for example, if you take this training itself, the requirements that is understood by the customer, okay, the stakeholder, that is you, is that I should be able to clear the interview, right? Whether I take in PPT form or text form or video, audio, you don't care, isn't it? Okay, whether it's Zoom or you don't care. What you care is, that you be taught all the concepts of BA, and you're ready to face any uh, interview or certification, things like that, right? So that's the requirements from the customer. What you want to achieve, not into the detail, right? Like what tool you'll use, which day you will teach, what time. All those things are important, not that they're not important. But from the user, from the customer, right, and the requirements illustration, we talk about these things. What is the requirements or the meaning that your customer understands, or what solution they need? Okay, you're not solving the problem. Generally, people who come from the software background, the coding background, they start solving the problem, right? That's not the thing. Of course, we are here to solve the problem, but to make sure that we solve the right problem, okay, we have to go through a formal process, right? And that's the process, okay? So requirement solicitation is about understanding the client's requirement, what capabilities they need. Then comes analysis. So once you get that requirements from the customer, next you have to translate into technical requirements, or the requirements which is understood by the software developer. Now, if you ask the software developer to, I need capability to identify customer and non-customer, right? Customer and prospect, let's say, customer and non-customer, right? So they will say, I mean, what do you mean by that? How can I give you, right? What they would want us to tell them, when I say us, BA, they want us to tell them is that, what information needs to be displayed on the screen, okay? Which one you want to highlight, which one you want to create in drop down, things like that, okay? So same example here, something I told you, right? I need the capability to, what is the requirement I'm talking about? Capability to find who are my customers and who are my non-customers. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. So for the technical person, it means that, okay, you need, so you want me to first, connect to the database, have a table, okay, where you're talking about customer and the state, right? So if by default, everybody would be prospect, and when they make payment, okay, they buy your service, that's when you will convert the status from prospect to client, right? So you will have that kind of page, and then you should have a option to run a report. The report you will say, show me customer and non-customer. You should be able to pull all the client name and the type, right? That's what you want. You want a button, okay, or an option where you say, show me your client and non-client. It should run a report and give you the list of the names of the client in the database, and along with second column, whether it's a client or non-client. Yes. So that's what the technical team wants. Okay. You have to be, you should be able to convert any technical requirements into business requirement, and a business requirement into technical requirement. So analyzing is that you are alone, okay, or maybe you can take help of SMEs who understand the process, but you are responsible as well as accountable, okay, in this case. And then you will come up with your technical requirements, which we call it SRS document, right? Software requirement specification, which will go to the developer team to develop it. Okay, then you talk about requirements process. It contains activities, requirement, elicitation, and analysis. So, generally elicitation and analysis goes hand in hand. Okay, you will say elicitation and analysis. Okay, and that's why we say requirements process. Requirement process is actually a two process. Elicitation, where you need to talk to all the stakeholders, customers, and then you have analysis where you are alone, okay, sitting in your cabin and looking at the requirements that you have got and converting that into technical requirement. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so requirements process, as I said, it has two things: requirement elicitation and requirement analysis. So what does elicitation does? Elicitation is about getting functional and non-functional requirement, right? So I said, right, first we learned all those terms. Now we know where those are used, right? So I don't have to explain what is functional, non-functional. What we understand is when you talk about requirement elicitation, we'll log back again if meeting ends, okay? So if there's a requirement elicitation, okay, you need to work on functional and non-functional requirements, which we know what it is. Analysis, okay, is a different process which we haven't touched and we will touch upon here. Is when you create the requirements, each of the requirements, you will have to create analysis model. Okay, and there are multiple analysis model, okay, and depending upon the how comfortable you are and which are relevant. Okay, so see here the idea is that you learn as many tools as possible, okay, but you won't be using everything everywhere. Correct? It means that whatever whatever is required, you will call and use that. Sounds good?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. So in analysis, we have dynamic model analysis, object model. These are again, more technical stuff. We will slowly get down into details here. Okay, what it means. Okay, so requirement specification versus analysis model. Both focus on the requirements from the user's view of the system, right? Your specification, which is to get functional, non-functional, and analysis is the technical requirement. You want to get the requirements from the user, but the kind of requirement that you get is different. Analysis uses formal or semi-formal notation. Okay, the way you will represent is more from diagram, graph, okay, pictures format. Okay, and the requirements is probably just in English text. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not going to talk about it. You please explain me what is functional requirement and non-functional requirements, and what are constraints.
Functional requirements are capabilities or system requirements. Non-functional requirements deals with the quality of service, like slow response.
Okay. Okay. Yes. And now coming about constraints. Constraints are called pseudo requirements. Okay. Pseudo requirements, it doesn't fall under first category, but it's more like what one should not do. Constraint is right, restriction, right? One should not do. For example, this should be in. So we discussed that, right? That we don't generally talk about the implementation detail, but for some reason they want it in Java, or they want database to be Oracle or something like that. We call it as pseudo requirements, okay, or constraints rather. Okay. So just read through this. I'm sure that you understand. We don't have to. We have discussed enough on functional, non-functional, isn't it?
Yes.
So functional is about user tasks that the system needs to support. Non-functional, the properties of that system, okay, that is being developed. In non-functional, we have seen usability, reliability, performance, supportability, right? And
Yeah.
constraints could be related to implementation, could be related to interface, could be related to operation, packaging, legal. These are the broad area where you will see these constraints, or on the left side, you will see the non-functional requirement when it talks about performance, right? That response time should be so much. It's clearly a non-functional requirement. Okay. So these are some of the slides on the work that the previous batch have created, and I have put it in the slide. So this is an example of banking. Okay. I will not speak. Please read through it, and you let me know if you understood, and any question you have.
Yeah, so
Okay. So this is about banking. Everybody says yes. Shall we move ahead?
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. So this is what I want. This is how I want you to write and create. Okay. Non-functional requirement.
Are these units of the non-functional requirements or non-functional requirements?
So when you say unit, what does that mean?
Like it's measuring the work of the performance or anything of the non-functional requirement. In previous classes, I have seen non-functional requirement examples, like it specifies the functionality of the functional
So
requirements.
it talks about traceability means when money is getting transferred from one account to another account. So let's say
Yeah.
you clicked on transfer, okay, and money got deducted from your account, and let's say before it could get into somebody else's account, there's an internet problem, a connectivity problem, some of the problem occurred. So
Yes.
right, so you should be able to trace. Okay, so this is not tracing traceability of the BA that we have seen, but this is about traceability of the process, or traceability of the cash money.
Okay.
Right, it can't get deducted from your account and not get to your friend's account and hanging somewhere in between. Right, So it should either, roll back or it should be 100%, right? Either 0% or 100%. You don't want any of those processes to be 50%. So that's one, of course. Okay. So that's where you should be able to track the chain of money from each person to each person, right? Or I mean, sorry, not person here. It becomes the requirements.
Okay.
In security, we're talking about security of the account, right? Your account should not get hacked, right?
Yeah.
That's security I'm talking about. Performance is the performance of the website. How much
How
time does
fast?
how fast? Yes, how much time does your front page takes to boot or takes to load up? Okay, how soon you get access your to make changes. So it's about performance. Okay. There's another requirements for outpatient clinic. Can you read through this in your mind and let me know when you are done?
Yeah. So done.
Okay, everybody else, I hear only one voice today. What happened to others?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Great. Soumya,
Yes, sir.
so can somebody explain me quickly? Okay, reverse engineering. So you have the requirements. Now you explain me the business problem. Okay, business problem 1-2 line, and we end up creating requirements. Now you have the requirements, right? You tell me what is the
Problem.
right. So if you can you tell me the business problem of this example here?
Sure. Maintaining the patient records. Hospital management may find some problems in maintaining the patient's records. So they got these functional, non-functional requirements.
Okay. What else?
Start with a new clinic.
Okay. What else? So it is about application to manage a clinic, right? Start a clinic is too broad, and you talk about a lot of other things, right? Not about the software, right? And patient management has become too low, right? That would be the next level. It's not about just patient management. It's about entire clinic management, including patient, doctor, appointment, everything, isn't it? So it is about developing a software to manage a clinic, right? And these are the features that your clinic will have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So next topic is scenario-based design. Okay. So we will learn to create design. Okay. And this particular topic that we're going to learn is called scenario-based design. And generally these are used at 3 stages. Okay. One is the requirement illustration stage where we are interested in to learn. Then second is at your client acceptance test. What is client acceptance test?
After completion of any project, they'll UAT, they conduct the UAT.
Correct. Right. So after you finish, the user will perform UAT, okay, or CAT also you can call it, okay, client acceptance and user acceptance, okay. They will test the minimum features which are important for them, okay, before they say okay we will accept it. Okay, that's called client acceptance test. Then you have system deployment. System deployment is further after that. Okay, when you accept it, now you are implementing at the customer. So system deployment is more like a training. You create a dummy data, you create a dummy scenarios. Okay, dummy patient will come for a dummy appointment, right? So that is more of a training. Okay, you create that, and actually you're trying to mimic the actual workflow in a training setup so that you can train all the users of the system, right?
Yes.
But mostly it is the we talk about requirement illustration which is the biggest and the most important. Here again we create what is called as a scenario and visionary scenario. Okay, system deployment is about training scenario. Client acceptance test is about evaluation scenario. You're evaluating a particular feature, right? So when you buy a phone, right? Let's say if camera is important for you, you will take few pictures from the phone to see the clarity of the photo. That's called evaluation. You're performing evaluation. So you're creating a scenario or you're creating a requirement saying that take sample photos and see the resolution. Okay, if it is high, you accept. If it is it's low, you return and come out, right? So that's what is CAT. And similarly, we have as a scenario. In as a scenario, we talk about what is the current situation. Okay, so we create scenarios for current situation. Then visionary, what will happen, the new system, how the new system will look like. So you need to create both as a scenario and new system. Okay, so if you remember, first slide, not first slide, maybe second or third slide, we spoke about 2 steps that we perform before project management stage. Okay, those are
Describe and define.
perfect. Describe and define. So describe is as a scenario. You're trying to understand the current situation, the current system. And define is about defining the future visionary scenario. What will happen, right?
Yeah.
So a scenario-based design is one of the most popular design. Okay, and we're going to learn this. Okay, so we discussed this. Okay, so how do we find scenarios? Okay, so okay, so another way to look at it, and this I'm saying you for your understanding. Okay, don't use these words in interview, but this is for your understanding. See, when you go for a movie, right? When you watch a movie, every scene of the movie is enacted, right? There's no voiceover. They don't tell you, this will happen, that will happen, isn't it? Okay, the way a movie is shot is that just by looking at the conversation, by looking at the set, the things around the people, you'll be able to understand what they're talking about, right? And it's so different when you watch a play, or or you can't watch, but you listen to a play on the radio versus when you watch something on TV. Okay, see, when you watch a movie, right, every scene, okay, you will be able to understand why it is happening. The way it is enacted or the way it is developed is easily understood, right? So what are the important things they do in movies to make you understand a scene? They don't have somebody in the background or the background talking about, no, this hero is coming and he's beating the villain, right? It doesn't say. You can watch and you can understand. So what are the important things that a director generally look at the creating a scenario? When it's a scenario, it's a scene, right? Movies is made of multiple scenes. So what are the things that director has to keep in mind when creating a scene? Tell me.
What's all?
So what are the
What is
factors? What are the factors which director has to keep in mind while creating a scene for a movie?
Like audience perception, he think from audience
See, if you
perception.
do a good job, okay, your audience will like it. See, when I am preparing for the training, okay, what are the important things which I should look at? See, it's not about your perception, because if I do well, your perception about me will be good. If I don't do well, your perception will be bad. So I should not think about the perception. I think you should think about the process which will lead to the perception, right? So, you should look at what should I do so that, when you go for interview, if you think about, oh, I need to clear, you will not clear. You should think at what should I do to clear the interview. If you do well, you will obviously clear the interview, isn't it? So what it's talking about is the end objective, which will happen, if you do a scene well, people will appreciate. If you don't do it, people will not appreciate. So don't think about it. Think about what you need to do to make it happen. So director has to understand for each scene who are the actors who will be involved, right? So in a movie, if you see, okay, they only show the characters which are important, right? If there's a fight between villain and hero, and if they are only two people, and two people will be there, it will not show you, five other people there fighting or dancing or singing, right? So for every scene, you need to understand who are the actors. And actors are those who are creating the scene, right? Who are enacting the scene, right? So first thing the director has to think about is who are the actors, who is going to execute the scene, right? It could be one, it could be, sometimes it could be none, right? It shows trees and jungle and it's possible, right? So sometimes it can be zero, if it, sometimes you can have one actor, two actors, three actors. You can have, like, talking about the crowd, you can have hundreds of actors. We're talking about the war scenes, you might have, okay, not exactly 1,000, but 100, okay, and they kind of create the illusion to make it look like 1,000, but it is still 100 people. So they need to know who are the actors, okay. Now, it doesn't mean that for a scene, okay, only hero or villain is important, okay. If you're talking about a war scene, okay, and you have villain and heroes fighting the war, and people in the background doing some action or fighting and things like that, that is also important, okay. That is also important, because if you don't show it, it may not look like a battlefield scene. So, okay, even that person may not be paid, or it has just 1 second role, but that role is also important, right? That role gives us a message, right? So here also, if you look at, every actor is important, okay. Who are the actors who will be involved in that scene, right? A movie can have many actors, but not every actor is available in each scene, right? Whoever is important. So when you talk about actors, it is whoever, will be required to execute. Okay, so that's the first thing the actor has to look at, who. Then they should also look at what they would be doing, right? Okay, what they would be doing. What else do I need in the background? Should it be in, cities? Should it be in village, in water, in air, or on land? Whatever, right? So they are the things that they need to look at. Okay, then then what action should actor one perform? There's a trigger point, right? Director says everything to the actor to do before the actor does it. Actor doesn't do things on their own, right? So you need to tell them, okay, here also design that what each of the actors need to do. Okay, we have something called as trigger point. Okay, trigger point means when that triggers, when that condition is met. Okay, so you say that when you see a villain, you start beating. The hero will be standing, and when villain comes, that's when you start beating, right? So that's a trigger point. When villain comes, you start beating, right? That's a trigger point. So so you have to understand the client, the trigger points, so those things uh, are uh, are to be understood, okay, before they shoot a scene, right? And apart from that, what it says is engage in dialectic approach. Okay, so we're talking about when it's you or any BA talks about the client, any client, it has to be in dialectic. It should be like question answer session, right? Okay. So engage in data approach, it will help to client to formulate the requirements. Okay, and sometimes client helps you to understand the requirements also. If let's say the first interview, that you're talking about, let's say or first action that you're doing, when say interview, it's the requirements interview, right? And when you're not able to answer the right question, the senior BA might come forward and ask right questions on your behalf. Okay, because that's how we succeed as a team. So here we need to understand, okay, the requirements from the customer. Okay, so in scenarios, okay, based design is what we're looking at. Okay, and those are some of the points that you have to keep in mind. Okay, and finally, what happens because of which? Okay, so here you see. Okay, then we'll go to the case study. The primary task, who performs the primary task, right? What data will the actor create, store, or change, right? In movie, right? What would they sell, break, or whatever, right? So that's the point I'm talking about. What external changes does the system need to know about? Okay, the system I told you, right? System is a software that you are designing and somebody else is using. Okay, so what it says is that what external changes does system need to know. Okay, so you don't have to so when you're shooting a movie, right, it doesn't have to talk about everything that happens in a day, right? What is important? Okay, what is important to be shown to your audience, movie goers? That's what you will show. Okay, so same thing happens in our BA thing also. Okay, so that's like a BA at the center, and all these things affects. Okay, so let's look at an example here. We'll discuss this example and close it. So I'll give you a minute to read this and let me know when you are done.
Okay. Done, sir.
Okay, so what do you understand from this? Isn't it like a movie scene? One scene?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the purpose of showing this scene? What is the purpose of this particular scene? Why would a company would want to do this? Okay, so this is a scenario where reporting fire is done. Okay,
Yeah.
so when you see a fire, there's protocol, right? You have to inform the head office or the control room. They will check if there's a real fire, and that's when Okay, they would send the fighter to fight the fire, right? So this is an example of scenario. Okay, this does not talk about all the possible scenarios of reporting fire. So when you look at a movie, a particular scene could be done in 100 different ways or 1,000 different ways, right? But what is right for that movie and as per the director, that's what they'll show in a movie, right? The same thing here. There are multiple ways to report a fire, but what you see here is just one way of reporting fire, not multiple ways. Okay, so Bob driving down the main street. So how many actors are here?
3.
Okay, 3 or 2? 3. Bob is driving. Okay, but
Bob and
correct. So Alice is the one who's looking at the requirement, handling the requirements. Correct. And then finally, there's a communication that happens between Alice and John. Okay, and finally John dispatches a team to fight the fire. Okay, so this is an example of a particular one single scenario, okay, of reporting fire. We can have multiple ways of doing that. Okay, but first, what scenario design says is first look at one scenario, understand it, okay, and create, and then you look for other scenarios. Okay, so reporting fire is the main case. We'll have multiple ways to report fire. This is one of the method and maybe the early method to adopt, okay, for fighting the fire. Yes.
yeah.
So example, we'll discuss the same example tomorrow. We'll stop here for today. We'll see how to create a first design. So remember, we discussed that analysis is more like your graphs and templates and diagrams. Less of text, more of diagrams. Okay, business requirement is more of text, less of diagrams. Okay. So shall we stop here, ladies? We'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Take care then. Have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.